Old Tappan is one of the northernmost townships in Bergen County, adjacent to Orange County, New York. The land was originally purchased from the Tappan Indians on March 17, 1682. However, current-day Old Tappan is even smaller than the original land grant. It was the first land grant in the U.S. to include blacks and whites on an equal basis. For 86 years, Old Tappan was part of Orange County, New York. During this time, Indians continued to occupy the upper Hackensack Valley. After much fighting, the King of England settled the dispute by establishing the current state lines. Today, Old Tappan is an extremely small borough with a total area of 4.197 square miles. We begin today's segment with Margaret Ronsberg, the soon-to-be 90-year-old resident of Old Tappan. She has lived through a world war on the home front and has resided in Old Tappan all of her life except for 2 years during the Great Depression. Without further ado, let's begin. So that was you?
Yes.
Way back when? And then this was your husband, I believe?
Yes.
Right? And this is him as you saw him when he proposed to you?
Yes.
Wow. Margaret's family, the DeWolf family, has lived in Old Tappan since its conception and owns some of the original land of the Tappan Land Grant. Her lineage actually reaches all the way back to the fighters in the Revolutionary War, tasked with bodyguarding the Marquis de Lafayette. Would you mind showing this to the camera and talking a little bit about your father? And this is your mother, right?
Yes. Well, this was my father during World War One.
During World War I, 24 men from Old Tappan served. All of them returned safely, defying the law of averages.
And he was down on the border of Mexico. And I really don't know. My father, most of the people that are in the war, even the Second World War, they never talked about it when they came home. They didn't want to talk about it. It was years before my husband talked about it.
It's not a nice memory to have and to share. It's not something that you really...
You know, his brother was a bombardier. And he even had a nervous breakdown because they had to fly so many missions, and then when they finished, they didn't have enough pilots, so they made you start over again.
Yeah.
So it was really terrible on your nerves because you come back, the ship was always all shot up.
Yeah. So past education, what else can you tell us about your
But
time?
what we did when we went to school though, they would give you a ticket. But they never gave you extra tickets if you wanted to go to a football game or something.
What Margaret is mentioning is the school system put in place for the children of Old Tappan before NVOT was established in 1962. The students were allotted a ticket to travel to Northern Valley Demarest and would remain there for most of the day. The school was in reality a small room with a small furnace as the only source of warmth during cold winters.
So what we used to do, when the conductor came and he punched your ticket, we used to pick up the punches and put them back in, because otherwise we couldn't go to the football game, you know.
Yeah.
Nobody had any money or anything.
So that was high school, I assume?
Yeah.
And then what can you tell us about your life past high school?
Past high school?
Yeah. So I assume this is when the onset of World War II.
I had some girls stayed over because we had gone to a dance at Camp Shanks.
During World War II, Old Tappan was integral in the construction and maintenance of Camp Shanks, the largest military installation in the Northeast. After 4.5 months of construction, it was used to hold Italian prisoners of war. Also, the USO used Camp Shanks as a center for entertainment and social gathering for returning soldiers and nearby residents, including those of Old Tappan.
And because Camp Shanks, they had a USO also. I used to go to the USO every night. I mean, you could go how many times you wanted.
Right.
So, because they had dances and we had entertainment.
Yeah.
And one time they had the can. I was in that.
Do you have any other points about that?
About the war?
Yeah.
Well, he went, and he got to, and he shipped out from the Brooklyn Navy Yard. He went to California, and he had to get off because he had to have an operation. And then when he got over that, he was put on aircraft carrier
Hmm.
on a, the admirals have their own staff. So he was put on the admiral staff of 50. And anytime the admiral transferred,
You
they
transfer
all
with
had to
him?
go with him.
Mhm.
And they always went on aircraft carriers.
Mhm.
So the rest of the war he was on an aircraft carrier. And he was in the first ship into the Japan after the Missouri.
Mhm.
And the Missouri is where they signed the peace.
But before the war could be ended, the 2 atom bombs were dropped. Captain Robert A. Lewis of Old Japan co-piloted the Enola Gay on its mission to deliver the first atom bomb, Little Boy, to Hiroshima. He was asked by a member of the press to write an impromptu log. We have selected passages from this log. At 1:55 a.m., he begins to write the log as a letter to his parents.
Dear Mom and Dad, everything went well on takeoff. Nothing unusual was encountered.
He stops writing to prep the bomb for the raid. At 6:30 a.m., he writes,
It's a funny feeling knowing this thing is right in the back of you. Touch wood.
The Enola Gay begins its final climb to 31,000 feet. At 8:16 and 2 seconds, the bomb explodes, killing 100,000 people instantly. At 8:17 a.m., Lewis writes,
Just how many did we kill? My God, what have we done?
So you've lived in Old Japan, you said pretty much most of your life except for those 2 years during the Great Depression, right?
Right.
During our research, we found that there was the biggest change. I think was I think around the 50s or something like that when the population really surged. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Well, when we built our house, it was in 1951.
Mhm.
And Old Japan Road had hardly any houses on it at all. And there was only one house from our house to the corner. The house was on the corner, and then all this was open land. And we were the first one to build on that piece right next to the Old Japan School. School wasn't there at that time,
Mm-hmm.
or else I would have never built on it.
Yeah.
But that was in 1951. So that's when the population started to increase,
Yeah.
right around that time.
What really do you think pulled people to Old Japan? Was it that I think that's when like the conservative sentiment took hold of America, right? You had the suburbanization of the country. You had more people looking to move into the suburbs, right?
Well, everybody, yes, because after the war, now you have all these people coming home.
Right.
Well, that's why they set up, they made Camp Shanks into the barracks, into
Mhm.
houses,
Mm-hmm.
and they used to live there.
The end of the war also marked an increase in conservative sentiments. Since the 1950s, Old Japan has been starkly Republican. No mayor has been Democratic since then. With the end of the war also came a population surge. The population jumped from 830 to over 2,000 people, from the early 50s to the late 60s. This marked a decade when suburban life and the conservative lifestyle came to dominate the Northeast. So you talked a little bit about the houses, right? When we were looking into Old Japan, there was a lot of mentions about the Wolf houses, I believe.
Yes.
So does your family had impact on that? That was your family's doing?
Yes, my grandmother's a DeWolf.
Mm-hmm. So those are some of the original settlers of Old Japan?
Yes.
Wow.
Well, that house, like I told you, that the first person here, the Tunis Heron,
Mm-hmm.
was with the other 10 people,
Mm-hmm.
the ones that bought the property from the Indians.
Yeah. This house, built for Cuisine Herring de Wolf, one of the original proprietors of the Old Japan Grant, was added to the National Register of Historic Places on January 10th, 1983. It serves as a testament to the growth, development, and success of Old Japan. Our next interview is with Mayor Kramer, a longtime Old Japan resident and public servant. Thank you for being with us today.
My pleasure.
So I guess we'll launch right into it. You've been the mayor of Old Japan for how long now?
Just about going on 3 months.
Really? Okay. Is this your first term ever doing it?
It's my first term as mayor. However, I've been a councilman here in town for 19 years.
Really? Okay. What did you do prior to that?
I was a police officer in Old Tappan for 34 years. I was a police chief for 26 of those years.
Uh-huh.
When I retired in 1996, uh, I was sort of drafted to run for office, and I did, and I was successful.
Hmm.
And I've been on the council ever since that time.
Did you grow up here?
Yes, I did. I moved to Old Tappan when I was 3 years of age.
Uh-huh. And how do you think Old Tappan has changed throughout kind of the years of being here?
It's changed drastically, dramatically. I grew up in town here as a youngster. Old Tappan was a farming community. It wasn't until after the Second World War, in the late 40s, that the first development came into town and took away one of the farms.
Uh-huh.
And it was through late 50s then, early 60s, that the town really started to develop then. And,
Right.
And the remainder of the farms were developed into single-family homes.
Uh-huh. Did you see an increase in population as well, or?
Oh, sure.
Uh-huh.
Sure, there was a dramatic increase of, I don't recall exactly what it was back in my childhood days, but, you know, we were talking less than 1,000 people.
Right.
And we're close to 6,000 now.
What do you think you've gained so far already from kind of filling the mayoral position? What are you looking to kind of implement? What are you looking to fulfill?
Well, I've, you know, I've often said that I have a passion for Old Tappan. As you know, I served on the planning board for 16 years before I became a councilman. I'm a life member of the fire company. I've been involved in the community for nearly all my life. I've worked on many projects through the 19 years that I served as a councilman. We started off in the early 2000 with the installation of sanitary sewer system in town. I was very much involved in that.
Mm-hmm.
I was involved with the creation of the building of the new police headquarters, which
Uh-huh.
is about 5 years ago now. I had a hand in the creation of Oaks Park, Bonneville Park. So I've been involved in so many of the things, and I just look to carry on the traditions that we have here in Old Tappan.
What would you say is your kind of crowning achievement? What do you say you're most proud of doing?
I can't say that I'm most proud of it from a personal standpoint, because I view much of the work that has been accomplished here as work that has been accomplished through the efforts of the mayor and council
Uh-huh.
as an entire body.
Mm-hmm.
It's not that I've run off with one particular project and said, that's my project.
It's mine, yeah.
But the ones that I just mentioned, just to mention a few, the creation of the sewer system, the police headquarters. The police department was created in June 1st of 1961. Prior to that, it was a marshal system, and there were no full-time police officers here. In 1961, the first full-time police officer was hired, and he worked primarily days, and then he was supplemented in the evenings by what we called special officers. They had arrest powers, and they operated the patrol car until about 10 o'clock at night, or some of them worked until midnight, and then they went off duty. If there was an emergency, someone would be called out from home. In 1962, I was hired as the second police officer, and I went up through the ranks, and in 1970, I became the police chief.
There's the school over here, right? MBOT. Is that kind of the hub of Old Tappan when it comes to, I guess, affecting Bergen County from a local standpoint?
Well, the high school actually coincided with the year that I joined the police department.
Mhm.
The high school opened in, I guess it was September of 1962. I was appointed in March of 1962.
Mhm.
Prior to that, all of the Northern Valley schools, all of the Northern Valley towns attended Demarest High School, Northern Valley Demarest. 1962, this school opened, and it split off, and Harrington Park, Old Tappan, Norwood, and Northvale attend this school.
I want to talk a little bit about the political landscape of Old Tappan.
Sure.
So, are you Republican or Democrat?
I'm a Republican.
Okay, and would you say that Old Tappan is primarily Republican or Democratic?
It's primarily Republican. We've had a Republican council since, all Republicans since, I would say, 2003.
Mhm.
There was a period of time for about 5 or 6 years that there was an independent group in that was serving Old Tappan. Prior to that, it had been a Republican town for many years.
So currently, do you think there's any kind of mounting pressures or any issues that you're currently looking to really address with your administration?
Well, I think we're all confronted, all communities within the state are confronted with the Council on Affordable Housing rules and regulations that are pending. And where that's going to go, we don't really know. It's in the hands of the courts at this point in time.
We want to thank Mayor Kramer and Margaret Ronsberg for allowing us to interview them. They've made this all possible. Thank you all for watching.